Alright, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dominate Every Aspect. And in this week's episode, I wanted to talk about my average rate of loss versus a single day loss versus which is better, essentially. So, should you take your average weight or should you take your daily weight? Now, this one may be just a little bit boring because it's going to be a lot of numbers. And I might put my numbers up here on the screen, if I can. So everybody can see my progress over the last 11 weeks, soon to be 12 weeks, remaining on the same macros throughout. Now, some people may think I am crazy for being on the same macros for 11 weeks. But as these numbers will show, is that I have shown progress most of the time in both of the categories, sometimes only in one of the categories, being average weight or single low daily weight. So as you guys know, I weigh myself on the daily. I do keep track of my average weight going down over the course of the weeks, but I also look at new lows coming up over the course of the weeks. So what have I found over the past 11 weeks? Well, on average, for my low weight every single week, over the last 11 weeks, I lost an average of 1 pound exactly per week. Pretty good. Really right where I want to be. Now, what is interesting though, is my average weight, and I have all my notes here, if that's what I'm looking at, my average weight over the past 11 weeks was down 0.98 pounds. So let's just round that up to 1 pound a week as well. So the two measures were pretty much exactly the same. Honestly, I did not expect that. This is the first time that I put the numbers in front of me. What was interesting though, and what some people might have made changes along the way, was that during some weeks, my average low weight did not move. Like there was one week, week number 9, that my average weight did not, well, my low weight did not move at all. Excuse me, my low weight did not move at all. But during that same week, my average weight for the course of the entire week dropped 0.6 pounds. So I counted that as a win, and I just kept on the same numbers. There was other weeks where it was vice versa. For example, week number 3, my low weight for the week was only down 0.6, but my average weight was down 1.1, which was great. So I take both of these into account when I'm making potential adjustments for myself. Now, obviously, I haven't had to make adjustments for myself over the past 11 weeks because my weight, like I said, has been dropping on average about 1 pound for a low weight and about 1 pound for my average weight. Now, what should you do? Should you do one? Should you do the other? Should you do both? In the grand scheme of things, I would stick with one and just let that be your measure. Now, what's interesting though, is this only takes into account my low weight. And as we know, over the course of the entire week, our weight fluctuates. So what I did is I looked at my single day weight. I just picked a random day of the week, Monday through Sunday, and I looked at my weights. And I just picked Wednesday, for example. Sure, there were some weeks where my weights were less than the week prior, but there were also some weeks where my weight was more than the weeks prior. So what I'm getting at here is that sometimes taking a single day weight may force your hand to make changes to your diet. So that's why I chose to weigh myself 7 days a week, look for new low weights, and then also calculate my average weight for the week, because unfortunately some people just don't gather all the points that they need, all the points on the graph to look for a trend. Yeah, you can get away with weighing yourself once a week. Ideally I would want to keep that on the same day every single week, but even then, depending on your sleep, depending on the amount of sodium that you had the day before, depending on your water intake, depending on what you trained the day previous, those things all affect that next day's weight. So when you take into account the average, or when you look at a new low weight for that week, I feel like it just paints a broader spectrum of a picture, and that way you could better evaluate yourself whether to leave your numbers the same like I have. Now it's going to be 12 weeks in a row, because this week, once again, I'm not making any changes. This week I saw a new low weight of 0.8 pounds, and on average my weight dropped 0.7 pounds. So those are, obviously those numbers are pretty close together, and that was enough for me at this stage of my prep to say, you know what, we're holding things steady. Since I am in the tail end of my prep, I would say that roughly, I'm about maybe 8 pounds away from where I really want to be. I'm 100. My lowest weight that I've seen thus far was just the other day. It was 174.2. So if I were to lose, another 8 pounds, I mean that's quite a bit. I don't know if I'm going to quite lose another 8 pounds. My average, I plan to potentially slow things down a little bit. I don't want to see it go over 1 pound a week, just because at the tail end of prep here, obviously you're a little bit more apt for muscle loss. But so this past week, when I saw that that 0.8 new low, I was definitely happy with that. That's on the top end of the spectrum. I would probably, be happy with 0.5, really to 0.8, up to 1 maybe. But what's nice about this is that the numbers don't lie. We know that visually sometimes we play tricks with ourselves, and as you guys have seen, like my pictures and my videos from the posing, I take first thing in the morning, no pump, no food, no water, and consistent lighting. It may not be the best lighting in the world, it may not be the worst lighting in the world, but it is consistent lighting. So you guys will see the same exact footage that you've seen over the past 29 weeks of me right next to my patio door, and you could definitely see the progress over time. And when you see, from the beginning to the end of prep, that helps. But week to week, sometimes pictures don't necessarily tell exactly what we want them to. Sometimes they do. But it's great to have all these bullet points in order for you to make an informed decision on what you should do with your macronutrients and with your cardio, for your prep, especially if you are prepping yourself. So as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed this informative video on daily weights and averages, and I hope that you found it interesting that I'm leaving my numbers the same for 12 weeks in a row, which is pretty much just over 3 months, or give or take 3 months of being on the same macronutrients. So you don't necessarily need to make changes every single week. You just gotta let it ride, but you have to have the numbers, or at least the visual feedback, in order to do that. So as always, guys, keep dominating in every aspect. I hope you enjoy the training footage and the posing footage as well. Keep crushing it, and I will see you all next week.